Shalom. So there's a lot of different um, lessons to learn from this parashah. Um, and the main story is about Yosef, going to Egypt, being sold as a slave and being sent to Egypt. But there's this other story right in the middle of it, right? This other story in the middle of Vayeshev. Um, and it challenges us, the story, because it makes us look at ourselves. So, and ask this question: when have I failed to take responsibility? And when have I found the courage to admit that I was wrong? So, of course, the story is, Yehuda and Tamar, and and it's somewhat an unfortunate story, but it kind of ends in a good way. And so here we have, Judah and Tamar, and here in Genesis 38, verse 26, Yehuda says, he sees his failure, right? He recognizes it, and he says, and Yehuda recognized them that Tamar had, the signet ring and things, and she is more righteous than I, because I did not give her to my son Shelah. And so this term, the word "she is more righteous than I," is Tzaddikah Mimeni. She is more righteous than I, and it's 4 Hebrew words. But it's a big deal, right? It's a big deal because Yehuda is admitting that he did something wrong, and he is taking responsibility now, right? He admitted he was wrong, and he took responsibility. And if you look at his life, you look at Yehuda, and he was the one who said, let's sell Yosef into slavery, right? But now his heart is changing. He's changing, right? This may be the beginning of his changing, or at one point, I'm not sure exactly, but this is as he is changing, right? And he says this to Tamar, so obviously his heart is what changed. He's not callous anymore, right? Um, and he did something that it says even Yaakov rarely did, to take responsibility, and even Isaac struggled to do this, but he does it. He takes full responsibility without any excuses. So this type of teshuvah is I guess one of the truest types. It's a complete turning, right? He doesn't try to get away from it or deflect. He just takes responsibility, and then he owns up to this, and he obviously is a father to these new ways that have come. So in the Mishnah, vote 2, verse 1, we have Rabbi Yehuda, a different Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. He said, which is the path that a person should choose? Whatever is harmonious for the one who does it, and harmonious for mankind. But be as careful with the minor mitzvah as with the major one, for you do not know the reward given for the respective mitzvot. So he gives us, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi gives us 2 lessons. One, to choose the path that's not only good for you, but also good for others around you. And he also says, treat all the mitzvot in a sense equally. Give them all respect, because he's saying you don't know what kind of reward is given for each of the mitzvot. Okay, so when you recognize, needed to take responsibility to fix what was broken, he chose the only path that was easy for him, but he stood up and did what was right, not for only for him, but for Tamar and for the babies coming and everything. So he became courageous in that way. So then we have in the Talmud, Shabbat 54b, it says here, against something wrong. So, sorry, whatever. Whoever can protest against something wrong that a member of his household is doing and does not protest, he is accountable for the members of his household. If he can protest against the wrongdoings of his fellow citizens and does not protest, he is held accountable for his fellow citizens. So this is taking responsibility not only for your actions, but also for others' actions, right? It's a obligation. And it kind of goes right back to the beginning of with Cain and Abel, and Cain says, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Well, essentially, this teaching is saying, yes, you are your brother's keeper. You need to take care. You need to watch over them and guide them, steer them in the direction. And you can't, commandment. This idea from Torah. It doesn't give this luxury of saying it's not my problem. You can't just be like, it's not my problem, it's their problem. No, we have to take that responsibility on, then say that it's also my problem. But there's a but about this, and Yeshua gave a good example about it, a good teaching about it. And Yeshua gives us this teaching in Matthew 7 verses 3-4. He says here, "Why do you see the speck in your brother's eye, but fail to notice the beam in your own eye? First remove the beam from your own eye, and then you will clearly see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." So in a sense, you can't be your brother's keeper if you yourself are not even being yourself. If you're not doing the right thing yourself, you can't be pointing out errors in other people. Does that make sense? So, we might have this obligation to correct others, but oftentimes, we have some other major issue that we're all or self. So we need to do like Yehuda, take responsibility for yourself first, and then you can continue on and help take care of other people. All right. So this is teaching that Yeshua has given us is the Hebrew term for it is cheshbon chanafesh, which means an accounting of your own soul. To look deep into your own soul and make sure that you are right before you start correcting others. All right. And so this is Yehuda. It goes back to the Yehuda's teaching of she is more righteous than I. Right. He's seeing that he has an issue and he needs to fix that first. All right. So we'll continue on. And Yeshua gives another teaching, right? Another teaching for us. For all of us, for all of us. In Luke 12, verse 48, he says, "From everyone to whom much has been given, much will be required. And from the one whom much has been entrusted, even more will be demanded." We may think, well, maybe this is, Yeshua's talking only about like the teachers, the Pharisees, the leaders. Here in this time, and during our times here, we have this abundance. The whole world has this abundance of knowledge. We all have knowledge at our fingertips. At any moment we want to learn about something, we can learn it very quickly, right? So we have a major blessing of resources, education, opportunities that those in the past would never imagine that you could have this, right? And so in a sense, everyone in the world has even more responsibility than they had in not too long of the past, right? Yeshua is also talking about this to us, to those of us who have studied more, who have more blessings, who have been given maybe the blessing even of finances or the blessing of knowledge, or maybe even the blessing of of a listening ear, or whatever you have, whatever talents, whatever blessings that Hashem has given you, we need to be responsible with them and to share them with those around us. So, what is your challenge? Your challenge, it's a 3-part challenge, and it's not just this week. It's a continual challenge. It's a continual thing of growth, right? So the first is do cheshbon hanefesh, hanefesh, and that is personal accounting. So I want you to think to yourself, take some time, quiet time, reflect, and ask, where have you avoided responsibility? Where have you done something wrong where you need to make it right? And then write it down and try to fix it, and don't try to rationalize it away. So do what Yehuda did, and admit you're wrong, right? And fix yourself. Second, I want you to, after you've gotten to that point, which could take time, sometimes, but after you've gotten to that point, then look around and see what responsibilities you can take on around you. Where you see something that is wrong, that should be done a different way or better, or maybe someone is being taken advantage of. Maybe there's, people that need to be taken care of, maybe they're hungry or hurting or whatever, Look for those things that need to be fixed and try to help. Take on that responsibility when you see it. When Hashem puts it in front of you, oftentimes it's not something that you're looking for even. Sometimes Hashem gives you some responsibility, and it's up to you to take it. It's up to you to act on it. And the third is consider the blessings that you have, whether it's the gift of listening to people, or maybe He's blessed you with money, or maybe He's given you the gift of knowledge. Maybe you're very knowledgeable. To share those blessings, to share those with those around you. And maybe if someone if you're blessed, say you're blessed with the gift of knowledge, and those around you need to learn things, you could teach them in a kind way, or ask them, do they want to learn? And share your knowledge with those around you. Okay. Sometimes it's just maybe you're a patient type of person. Sometimes you need to just offer your service of listening. Offer your listening ear to those around you, so that they can hear you and they can share what's hurting. So everybody has their different talents. Hashem has given everyone their talents. So identify that talent and then share it with those around you. And so let's go back to Yehuda's story here. His transformation didn't happen overnight, and I'm not sure at what point this part of him changed, but it did, right? And he had this change, and he had this courage to say, Tzaddikah Mimeni, she is more righteous than me. And from that, it grew and grew and grew, right? It grew to the point where he was offering himself instead of Benjamin to Pharaoh, to Yosef, when they were going to take Benjamin away. And so it shows how important this is. Shows how important it is for a leader to have this quality, right? And because of this, he had this. This scepter will not pass from Yehuda, right? This quality had to be part of him for it to pass on to the kings, right? And ultimately to Yeshua HaMashiach, who obviously had this quality as well, right? He loved his fellow man. It doesn't even give an example of him admitting when he was wrong, because he didn't do any wrong. But I'm sure maybe when he was a child or learning, he probably learned that lesson at a very young age. And so I feel like also, and then this is a side comment, that Yehuda, he was a father to his first sons, but maybe he wasn't the best father to his first sons. and maybe that's why they became, you know, I won't blame all on Yehuda, but they were, you know, something was wrong with them, right? They both, at least the first two, had some issues, and Hashem had to strike them down. But these two new sons, I think he might have been a better father to them, because they grew and learned this lesson from Yehuda, and the kings, the Messianic line came from them. So with that, I want to encourage you, find the courage to be like Yehuda, to see when you're wrong and admit you're wrong, and to speak truth and those kind of things, and also to share those gifts that Hashem has given you, so that we can spread the goodness that Hashem has given us to all those around us. May we take that responsibility, take the responsibility of admitting when we're wrong, and also taking the responsibility of sharing what the blessings that Hashem has given us. That's Shabbat Shalom. I'm not
Shabbat
sure.
shalom.